Exiles of the Pacific Sprawl.
For the exile, the experience of memory becomes collective. Individual experience pales before the increasingly embroidered epics of Genesis, Exodus, and Arrival. Out in the dusty parking lots under the lens of Andromeda, the displaced Earth people, for biologically that is what they remain, find themselves drowning in nostalgia during their empty moments, of which they have many. One of the memories looks like this. It is nighttime in the Pacific Sprawl, and there is a sense of occasion. They are moving from noodle stall to piano bar, from pizzeria to Irish pub, because everywhere, apart from out here near Andromeda, there are Irish pubs. Riding the fast transit monorails through the gaudy neon night, there is laughter and banter. There is a feeling of shore life, because that is the major industry of the Pacific Sprawl, and it is cultivated as an investment. The hypnotic coloured lights die down, and the crowds recede, and there is just the wind in the geodesics. Somewhere out near the horizon, someone is moving uncertainly. The colonist keeps a measure of the distance. If they become any larger, it will be time to move on. Sometimes the nostalgic exile will find their fingers sticky with soy sauce like a stigmata, or they will see a broken bottle of Tsingtao at their feet, proof that the night and the stench of fast food and excited revellers are still there somewhere, somehow, if they could only reach below the surface and recover them. What is curious is that this has been experienced by children as young as 4 years old who never knew the Earth, or that day of shore leave before the passengers enter deep freeze for 2.5 million light years of sleep. They never knew satay skewers or liquid nitrogen margaritas, but they have been known to name the cafe bars at the Esplanade in their sleep. Either the collective memory is unusually strong in these young colonists, or the Pacific Sprawl has a life of its own that just keeps growing behind their eyes.
Local conditions.
When considering the plight of the colonists of this unnamed world, one is tempted to quote Baron Boddacy's dictum that the universe is an infinite set of local conditions. And while we might contend that any equation that is balanced against infinity tends to produce absurd results, there is something here in the parochialism of consciousness in general, and the human race in particular, which chimes with the Baron's insight. If there is any wisdom to the colonist's condition, it is this. While everywhere where sparks of consciousness have graced the universe and announce from every arbitrary point that they label as the centre of creation, "Sir, I exist," the vagrants of these dusty lots have chosen instead to drift as close to unconsciousness as is comfortably possible. Another people might have planted the flag and claimed their front lawn as, depending on temperament, Eden, heaven, hell, or at least home. And given the ideal conditions of this world, its occupants' patriotism is equivocal in the extreme. Given that the climate and the atmosphere are maintained in some kind of bizarre equilibrium by the interaction of a brace of suns and a pair of moons, we find here not so much the proverbial Goldilocks zone as what one might call a dentist waiting room zone. It is as if God had intended this to be not so much a paradise as a portico or a narthex, but with less apocalyptic foreshadowing that might normally suggest. Perhaps, in the final analysis, a screensaver is the best analogy. That was the third part of Near Andromeda by Zali Krishna, performed by Solomon Kirchner and the PVC Radiophonic Workshop. Before this week's episode of the Money Programme, we repeat today's party political broadcast from the Young Conservatives.